There was a time when Hollywood actresses were worshipped not only for their talent, but for their physical presence. Judy Garland stood beneath heavy studio lights, singing her way into history, even as pills were slowly destroying her life. Marilyn Monroe posed for cameras, smiling with impossible charm, while loneliness ate through her heart. Ava Gardner, Sophia Loren, Clara Bow, they lived under a system that told them their bodies, their measurements, their proportions, were their ticket to immortality. Today we look back not with judgment or ridicule, but with a quiet sadness. Because behind every number, every inch of bust size that made headlines, there is a human story, full of love, trauma, fear, success, and tragedy. And at the center of it all is Judy Garland, proof that fame and beauty rarely protect the soul. Judy Garland, Jane Powell, and Constance Bennett. The story begins with the actresses measured at 33 inches, a number that seems small, yet carries enormous weight. Judy Garland stands at the center. Born in 1922 and barely 4 feet 11, she entered MGM before she understood who she was. "You Made Me Love You" drew studio attention, but it was her role as Dorothy that turned her into a legend and earned her a special Juvenile Academy Award. Her voice, not her body, made her indispensable, and that terrified the system around her. What audiences never saw was the damage. Studio doctors controlled Judy's body with pills to keep her awake, to make her sleep, to suppress hunger. The pressure to maintain a perfect figure never stopped. Her widely publicized 33-inch bust became a symbol of how tightly Hollywood tried to control her. Fame destroyed her health, addiction followed, and she died at 47 from an accidental overdose. A woman celebrated worldwide but never allowed ownership of her own life. Jane Powell, also listed at 33 inches, faced a quieter tragedy. Born in 1929, she rose through MGM musicals like Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, adored as the cheerful girl next door. But when musicals faded and youth disappeared, Hollywood simply moved on. Her measurements no longer mattered. She rebuilt herself on stage in South Pacific, Oklahoma, and My Fair Lady, living to 92, proof that longevity does not equal protection in this industry. Constance Bennett, another 33-inch icon, combined glamour with exhaustion. Born in 1904, she transitioned from silent film to talkies with ease, starring in hits like Common Clay and Topper. Yet off-screen, she battled aging anxiety and irrelevance. Knowing fame was temporary, she invested in fashion and cosmetics, planning for the end Hollywood never warns you about. She died at 60, remembered not only for elegance but for working until her body gave out, long after the spotlight dimmed. Clara Bow, Veronica Lake, and Lana Turner. If the 33-inch actresses were shaped by control, this group was shaped by chaos. Clara Bow, listed at 32 inches, became Hollywood's first true sex symbol almost by accident. Born in 1905 in Brooklyn, she grew up in poverty and emotional violence, including a mother who once threatened her life. Fame didn't heal her trauma, it intensified it. Her breakthrough in It turned her into the It Girl, drowning her in attention and obsession. At her peak, she received over 45,000 fan letters a month, while magazines reduced her to measurements and curves. When sound films arrived, anxiety and studio pressure overwhelmed her. Her career collapsed quickly, and she retreated from Hollywood into years of psychiatric treatment, a symbol of how fame can consume the unprotected. Veronica Lake, measured at 34 inches, embodied a darker fantasy. Just 4 feet 11, she rose to fame as a film noir femme fatale opposite Alan Ladd. Off-screen, alcoholism and isolation followed her. As studios discarded aging actresses, she turned to television, quietly admitting Hollywood had already moved on. Her final years were marked by low-budget roles, poverty, and illness. She died at 50, largely forgotten by the industry that once worshipped her image. Lana Turner, also listed at 34 inches, was manufactured into glamour. Discovered at a soda fountain, her body and image were aggressively marketed, making her one of MGM's highest-paid stars. Yet her personal life was filled with violence, failed marriages, and scandal. The most infamous moment came when her daughter killed her lover during a domestic dispute. Lana survived professionally, but the damage lingered. She worked until illness took her, dying at 74. Admired for beauty, remembered for endurance, and scarred by a life lived under constant scrutiny. Ingrid Bergman, Faye Dunaway, CYD Carice, and Ann-Margret. If earlier actresses were punished for excess, these women were burdened by expectation. Ingrid Bergman, listed at 34 inches, brought something Hollywood rarely tolerated: quiet authority. Born in 1915 in Sweden, she entered American cinema without artificial glamour. Her performance as Ilsa revealed intelligence and moral depth, making her iconic and vulnerable. When her private life became public, Hollywood turned on her, replacing admiration with condemnation. Though she later returned to acclaim and awards, her career remains a lesson in how quickly success can turn into exile. Faye Dunaway, also measured at 34 inches, emerged during Hollywood's second golden age. Her role as Bonnie Parker redefined female characters: sharp, defiant, and unapologetic. Recognition followed, but so did the label of being difficult, often assigned to women who refused compliance. In her memoir, Dunaway spoke openly about isolation and exhaustion. Her career reflects the cost of independence in an industry that punishes resistance. Cyd Charisse, with a 34.5-inch measurement, suffered in silence. A dancer shaped by illness and physical strain, she built her fame through discipline rather than spectacle. As musicals declined, so did her screen presence. She continued performing through television and live tours, receiving recognition only later in life, long after her body had absorbed the toll. Ann-Margret, listed at 35 inches, stood between desire and danger. Discovered young and marketed as a sex symbol, she fought to be taken seriously as an actress. Her performance in Carnal Knowledge marked a turning point, but a near-fatal accident nearly ended her career. Though she recovered and continued working, Hollywood never fully loosened its grip on her image. Hedy Lamarr, Maureen O'Hara, Rita Hayworth, and Ava Gardner. At this stage, Hollywood's obsession with curves reached its most dangerous illusion: the belief that beauty alone could replace understanding. Hedy Lamarr, listed at 35.5 inches, was introduced to the world as perfection itself. Born in Vienna, she arrived in Hollywood carrying both extraordinary beauty and an intellect the industry had no interest in nurturing. MGM marketed her as the most beautiful woman in the world, a title that followed her relentlessly. Yet behind the camera, Hedy spent her nights working on mathematical concepts and inventions. Her pioneering work in frequency-hopping technology would later form the foundation for modern wireless communication. During her lifetime, it earned her little recognition. Hollywood celebrated her body while ignoring her mind. When roles faded, she was discarded, spending her later years isolated and financially strained. The tragedy of Hedy Lamarr lies not in what she lost, but in what the world refused to see. Maureen O'Hara, also measured at 35.5 inches, followed a different path, one built on strength rather than fragility. Born in Ireland, she brought physical presence and emotional authority to the screen. Early roles cast her as an exotic femme fatale, but she fought for dignity, turning down parts she felt diminished women. Despite her talent, she struggled to secure long-term studio contracts, particularly with MGM. Still, she endured. Her performances in major award-winning films established her as a leading lady of substance. Recognition arrived late, with an honorary Academy Award celebrating decades of resilience. Her story is not one of collapse, but of endurance in a system that rarely rewards it. Rita Hayworth, listed at 36 inches, may be the most heartbreaking figure in this group. Born into performance, she was shaped into a fantasy against her will. Studio executives altered her hairline, her name, and her image, turning her into the ultimate screen goddess. Her performance in Gilda made her a global symbol of desire, but she later confessed that men went to bed with Gilda and woke up disappointed to find Rita. Her marriages failed, her mental health deteriorated, and her later films reflected exhaustion rather than passion. As Alzheimer's disease took hold, the world misunderstood her decline, mistaking illness for instability. She died with her legacy intact, but her suffering unresolved. Ava Gardner, also recorded at 36 inches, embodied raw magnetism. Discovered purely for her looks, she entered MGM with no formal training. Her early roles were forgettable, her confidence fragile. Success arrived with The Killers, but Ava never believed she deserved it. Despite decades of fame, she accepted roles later in life primarily for financial survival. Her personal life was turbulent, marked by destructive relationships and self-doubt. Though widely considered one of Hollywood's most beautiful women, Ava lived with the constant fear that beauty was all she had to offer. Brigitte Bardot, Marilyn Monroe, Raquel Welch, and Olivia de Havilland. By the time bust measurements reached 36 and 37 inches, Hollywood's fascination crossed into fixation. Brigitte Bardot, listed at 36 inches, did not simply become famous, she became a cultural earthquake. Born in France, she entered cinema through modeling and dance, her body photographed long before her emotional life had any protection. When she appeared on screen with explosive sexuality, audiences saw liberation. Bardot felt invasion. Fame followed her relentlessly, turning every gesture into spectacle. She retired from film before reaching middle age, exhausted and disillusioned. Her withdrawal was not artistic choice alone, but survival. Bardot later devoted herself to animal rights, retreating from a world that reduced her to flesh and fantasy. Her legacy remains powerful, yet deeply conflicted. A woman celebrated globally while feeling imprisoned by her own image. Marilyn Monroe, measured at 37 inches, became the most recognizable symbol of Hollywood desire. Born into instability, she entered the film industry through minor roles, slowly refining a screen persona that combined innocence and sexuality. Studios carefully measured her body, controlled her weight, and marketed her curves as both invitation and promise. Yet Marilyn's private life was marked by loneliness, failed marriages, and dependency on medication. Her intelligence and ambition were dismissed, her vulnerability exploited. Despite films that grossed extraordinary sums and global adoration, she lived in constant fear of abandonment. Her death at 36, officially ruled an overdose, remains surrounded by speculation. What is certain is that Marilyn died believing she was replaceable, a devastating irony for a woman who shaped an entire century of beauty standards. Raquel Welch, also listed at 37 inches, entered Hollywood during a time of transition. Her emergence from the sea in 1 million years BC created one of the most iconic images in cinema history. The poster eclipsed the person. Though she studied theater and worked tirelessly to be taken seriously, her body defined her public identity. Career conflicts, public dismissals, and industry politics slowed her momentum. Welch persisted, navigating theater, television, and film with resilience. Her tragedy was quieter, the lifelong struggle to be recognized beyond physical perfection. Olivia de Havilland, sharing the 37-inch category, represents resistance. Her career began with promise, earning early recognition in major productions. Yet she found herself trapped in limiting contracts that restricted her creative freedom. When she challenged the studio system legally, she risked everything. The lawsuit she won reshaped Hollywood contracts forever, granting actors greater autonomy. Her victory came at personal cost, years of stalled work and professional isolation. Eventually, she returned with award-winning performances, proving her depth beyond typecasting. Olivia lived a long life, but her battle revealed the hidden price of independence in an industry that preferred control. Sophia Loren, Jane Russell, Mae West, and Anita Ekberg. At the highest end of Hollywood's measurement obsession were women whose curves became inseparable from power, controversy, and legend. Sophia Loren, listed at 38 inches, represents the rare case where beauty did not silence talent. Born into poverty in Italy during wartime, she entered cinema through beauty contests, catching the attention of producers who immediately recognized her physical presence. Yet unlike many others, Loren refused to be defined by it alone. Her performances carried emotional weight, cultural identity, and intelligence. Winning the Academy Award for Two Women, she shattered Hollywood's unspoken rule that foreign-language actresses could not lead the industry. Still, her body was endlessly discussed, photographed, ranked, proof that even triumph could not free a woman from scrutiny. She survived where others broke, but survival did not erase the pressure. Jane Russell, also measured at 38 inches, was introduced to the public as a deliberate provocation. Signed by Howard Hughes, she became the centerpiece of The Outlaw, a film designed to showcase her figure more than her skill. The controversy surrounding censorship only amplified her fame. While she continued working steadily through the following decades, her career was forever framed by that initial image. Later in life, Russell became an outspoken advocate for adoption and philanthropy, quietly reshaping her legacy. Yet history continues to remember her first as a body, second as a woman. Mae West, another 38-inch icon, weaponized her image before Hollywood could control it. Born in Brooklyn, she entered entertainment through vaudeville, writing her own material when studios refused to offer strong roles. Her films shocked audiences with sexual confidence and sharp wit, challenging censorship and moral codes. Mae West understood exactly how she was being measured, and she used it to her advantage. Yet even she paid a price. As she aged, Hollywood erased her presence almost entirely. Power was tolerated only while youth remained visible. She died at 87, having outlived her critics, but not the system she defied. Finally, Anita Ekberg stands alone at 40 inches, the most extreme example of Hollywood excess. Crowned Miss Sweden, she was brought to America with massive expectations that were never fully realized. Her defining moment came in La Dolce Vita, a scene that immortalized her body while freezing her career in time. Though she continued working, her roles diminished, her finances collapsed, and her fame faded into nostalgia. She returned briefly in later years, but much of her life was marked by regret and struggle. Ekberg's story exposes the final cruelty of Hollywood measurement culture. Once the body no longer fits the fantasy, the woman disappears. Which of these actresses do you believe paid the highest price for fame? Was it Judy Garland, Marilyn Monroe, or someone else entirely? Leave your thoughts in the comments, and if this story moved you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more untold Hollywood stories.